I want the bets from Betting Weekly, because we win. That is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Steve Wyss and Paul, the Hitman Hughes, today. And Paul, it is Friday the 13th, so I hope you're not superstitious. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, not superstitious for me, Steve, but there is a sign where it's like everything I've looked at this weekend, it's like I'm really confident in that, and it's like, is this going to be the reason they all trip up? Because obviously they're all going to win otherwise than that, but yeah, we'll see. But no, I looked at the fixtures this weekend and on today, and do you know when there's just some days where you're just like, oh, I couldn't touch anything today, and then you see some days where you're just like, wow, there's just like so much that stands out to me. It's like today's one of those days, so I'm happy that I'm on today, anyways.
Would you know what? That's exactly how it is for me this weekend. Check out Betting Weekly Extra Time, which has now been published. I've got 7.5 units on the table. Hopefully, it's the Magnificent 7.
On just one bet as well.
Yeah, you're teasing people now, Paul, aren't you? I like it. But yeah, welcome in to everyone. Mr. Dobson says he's straight in with this one. Will the lads have any leans for the Pisa match tonight? Yeah, that's been done before a few times this year. Ray, Pat Logic, Byron, good to see you. Rick from Satchakawian. I've butchered that name. No, I have. The Canadian state. Ming Chung, Jong Tate, Dan Robert, good to see you. Byron, Jack Wright is in the house. Greetings to you, Jack. Let's cash some winners this weekend. Chippy Chips, Tribe of Gad, Real Brandon King, Jake. Yeah, Friday the 13th, apparently the first of 3 Friday the 13th this year, Paul. Next month, we've got a Friday the 13th, and it's very unusual we get 3 of them in a year. The next time that happens is the year 2037. An interesting bit of data which nobody needed to know. But you got it here.
I think that means we're going to clear up this weekend. I think that means we're going to clear up. So
funny things can happen on Friday the 13th. Like maybe, just maybe, I might get a winner on a Dortmund game. How about that?
That might be pushing the boat a bit.
It might be pushing the boat, but I've got to try. Yeah, it's a really exciting day of action. There's loads on the slate. FA Cup weekend as well. And we're going to be breaking through the 2 FA Cup games today, and also some of our best FA Cup plays over the weekend. It feels like a really good sort of sporting moment. Winter Olympics are on, of course, as well. I was watching a bit of the Winter Olympics today, actually, Paul, in the background. A bit of curling. I've always fancied doing that. Can you imagine me on the ice rink doing a bit of curling?
Oh,
I think it'd be.
God.
I think I'd be all right at it. Yeah, I'd do better than what the GB. Well, the ladies team have been doing today. They were awful when I was watching. The men are really good. I think the GB men might win gold. But yeah, let's have a look anyway. Just a reminder of yesterday, of course, there was a great result for Brentford in the London derby, 1-1 draw against Arsenal. Biggest bet on the sports book sadly was an Arsenal moneyline bet at plus 105, $25,000. It was a loser. And I think Brentford surprised everyone, really, how good they were. I think they outplayed them, to be honest with you. And again, credit to Keith Andrews in that regard. And I know Arsenal caught a lot of people out. They were really poor there. Just a notable long odds winner from yesterday. I always like to mention this is in the golf, $75 on Ryo Hitsasune, I think is how you pronounce him. First round leader at Pebble Beach, 40-1, and that netted $3,000 return. I think he's been going quite well recently, Hitsasune. He was in the top 5 or 10 in Phoenix, and yeah, he got the lead at Pebble Beach. So
it's like
fair
10
play.
under or something as well.
Yeah, that's too easy, that course now, Pebble Beach. I think it's got next year, the golf majors we've got St Andrews and Pebble Beach, and those are far too easy for professional championships now, in my opinion. Those courses will be -20, -25. I'm telling you. But we can talk about that a different day. Just looking through. Of course, Atletico Madrid yesterday was a great. We nailed that game, me and Lewis, yesterday. Sadly, the Brentford game was a little bit different. Byron said Steve would be a great sweeper. I'm liking that. I like the idea of that, me on the ice. But we've got a lot to get through today, Paul. We're going to start with, where shall we start today? France, I think. We'll go in France because it's the early kickoff. Rennes against Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain -245 favourites. Tie +400. Rennes +550. I know you've not really got anything too much on this one. My personal thoughts are that PSG last week, that was the first time they really laid down a marker this season. It was a top-class performance against Marseille. They absolutely smoked them 5-0. And, you watched a bit of PSG recently against Newcastle, and they were a hell of a lot better last weekend than in that fixture. And they're starting to get cooking a bit. Rennes have been out of form. Traditionally, Rennes have actually given PSG problems down the years, but not in the last 2 seasons. They've been well beaten, actually, against them. So I'm struggling to see anything other than quite a convincing PSG win. I think I'll be looking at PSG on the handicap -1.25 or 1.5. I think there could be goals in the game as well. But if I'm going to have one bet in this fixture, Paul, it's going to be on Dembele, Ousmane Dembele, -109 any time. I think it's just about the right price. He had a really bad first half of the season for injury, but he's starting to look sharp again. And if PSG rack up a few goals, I would expect him to be getting at least one of them. Although, again, there's this split share with minutes sometimes with Ramos. He might only get 65, 70 minutes, but by then, the damage, I think, will be done. You had a little lean on the goals in this game, right?
Yeah, it was kind of looking at towards the goals, and then I've been kind of shifting over the last hour and stuff, just overall from goals to more to a PSG strong angle. What I will say is that this morning I was very in line with you, looking at PSG -1.25 Asian handicap. I think it was -120 earlier. I'm not hoping it's still around the same. And I ended up landing at that even still, quite liking that. What I will say about Dembele is I spoke to Mr. Eastham, of course, earlier on today, asked him about that, and he said he thinks he'll be benched. He thinks they'll play Monaco, obviously, I think it's next week in the Champions League, and he expects a bit of rotation from this front line. And he thinks him and Doué might see them hit the bench tonight, which kind of put me off, maybe all the goals and stuff. But I do think this attacking depth of Barcola, Kavicha, Ramos, that's still a bit too deep for this Rennes team. And as I said, the PSG scored 9 in the last 2 against them. So you can't really put anyone off if they do like the goals or anything of the such. But I just think Rennes have been so poor recently that I think -1.25 Asian handicap, -120 is probably the best way to go if you want to bet in this game.
Yeah, I think PSG. I mean, that is a very good point, actually. Of course, they do play against Monaco in the Champions League midweek. Very similar to last season. They played Brest in the same round. And I think they're quite pleased to get a French team. They'll know plenty about Monaco. Monaco have historically given them a bloody nose sometimes, but this Monaco version isn't that great this season. I don't think PSG will have too many issues against them. I mean, look, there could be rotation, in which case I think Ramos would be a good anytime scorer option. With Bet Rivers, your bet is voided if the player doesn't start. So you've always got that in your pocket. You can wait for the lineups, but when the lineups come out, I would imagine whichever the starting striker is, well, Dembele would probably go to about -125 if it's confirmed he's starting. And Ramos is +125 at the moment, and he would probably go to about evens.
What's Bradley Barcola, Steve, if you've got it up there?
Barcola's +160 to score anytime.
Yeah, I think that's who I'd look. He was really stepping up. Do you remember the start of the season when Dembele went down and then Doué went down? I think, and then Kavicha didn't score in 13 games in the league. I think Barcola was the one to step up before he got injured as well. So if Dembele and Doué do drop to the bench tonight, I think that'd be probably the way I'd go.
Rennes, of course, do have a new manager. It'd been on the cards for a while, to be honest. We thought Habib Bey might be giving his marching orders before Christmas, but then he had a better run. Frank Ice, as former Nice boss, former Lens boss, is the new manager, but he's only just been appointed. I'm not sure. I really rate Ice, actually. I think he will get Rennes ticking. Someone needs to get this Rennes side. Rennes are a big club. This is a club with huge potential. They should be in the knocking in the around the European spots every single season. And I think Hughes will probably get them there, but it's asking a lot on just a couple of days for him to get too much of an impact out of these players. Anyway, let's just talk about some betting splits for the game. 97% of the money's on PSG, 96% of the tickets, 71% of the money's on the under here. Someone did put down under as a bet. Dan Roebuck.
Mr. Roebuck, yeah,
likes the under here. A bit contrarian, but I mean, I think it's probably more likely to be goals, to be honest with you. Just if PSG play like they did last week, but there's no guarantee they will again. Let's just see how this one goes. It's not a match I don't to get heavily involved in. Now we go down the south coast of France, Paul. Monaco versus Nantes. Monaco have been disappointing this season, it must be said. Not too much to shout about. They did beat Rennes 4-0 here a few weeks ago. The good news is they're playing a Nantes side who are in total freefall. Shocking run of form for FC Nantes. Monaco are minus 235 on the money line, and some will snap that up. That's for sure. Again, will they be looking ahead to the PSG fixture? Even if they are, then surely they have enough for this really poor Nantes side. You quite like Monaco on the handicap here, yeah?
Yeah, I think the golf and quality in this two sides is like quite large. Nantes are obviously at the moment just like, how bad are they? When you're looking at all the recent performances, it's like they're showing no signs of life at all. As I said, Monaco haven't been great either, but I do think obviously they play PSG next week, and we just talked about PSG rotating. I asked James as well about Monaco rotating, and he said pretty much that they can, but they have so much injuries that they can barely rotate anyways. So, you know, if they're going to be full strength because they can't rotate, then you'd expect them to kind of just dismantle this Nantes team who are very poor at the minute. They had a lot of ingoings and outgoings Nantes in January, and I feel like this hasn't clicked since then. They kind of similar level, if not a bit worse, because you'd say some of the chemistry and stuff with getting the new people in and the old people going out still need to be touched on, but they look similar as they were in December, and they're doing nothing going forward for me. And I think Monaco this is going to get them ticking and going back up the League One table, because they've dropped a few spots now, haven't they, Steve?
They have, and they're actually 10th in the table, which is absolutely disgraceful for Monaco, really, considering their budget and their ambitions. They are unbeaten in 3 straight games, though, and not conceded a goal in that period. I must mention the ridiculous head-to-head in this fixture, which the last 8 meetings have all gone over 3.5 goals, let alone 2.5, 3.5. And there's some crazy scores. Going back to 2023, a 3-3 draw, a 4-0 win for Monaco, a 2-2 draw. Last season, Monaco won this fixture 7-1. Yeah, 7-1. And then the reverse fixture this year in October, Monaco won 5-3. But I just don't see that many goals here, really, for a few reasons. I think Nantes will come here defensive. Ahmed Kantari now is their manager, and he was a defender in his professional career, and I think they come here kind of try and park the bus. Monaco aren't conceding goals suddenly, and I must mention the weather. There could be torrential rain on the south coast of France today, so I think it's more likely Monaco winning to 0 actually than anything else.
I was just looking at the price of that actually.
Yeah, that 2-0 sort of score
plus 170 to win to 0.
That's quite big actually to win to 0, considering they have now finally kept some clean sheets consecutively, and they might have found something defensively. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go with a head-to-head in this instance. If this one goes wildly over, I think we're going to say there's something about this fixture. But I'm not totally convinced by it overall. Just looking through some comments here. Humble Lavadian says, how random is it that PSG gets the 2 French teams in a row in the playoff in the Champions League? I think it's a real stroke of luck for them. It really is. They know everything about Monaco. They knew everything about Brest. It's very just what they wanted, really. And they'll get through comfortably, in my opinion. Giuseppe says, go on, Paul.
I was just going to say PSG. This is the time of the year they started clicking last season as well. Because you remember they were doing pretty bad in the Champions League and the league phase, and then after the January transfer window, they started looking unbeatable. And I was just thinking, is that performance last week against Marseille, is that something they're going to build off and go back into that form? It could be.
This thought was crossing my mind when I was watching that match last week, and I was sick to my stomach watching that game. Actually, it was one of those where I was kind of in like a coma, and I was like, this can't be happening, can it? And it was happening. It can. It can. Real Brandon King got burned by PSG in under 4.5 last week. That's harsh, isn't it? Plus 100 tonight. He might back it again. Ginepi says Monaco's on his blacklist. Can't trust them. Yeah, I agree. Monaco, I think, have been on a lot of people's blacklist for probably the last 2 or 3 years. Really. Nantes were improved. I think that's the sort of performance we're going to see from Nantes tonight. They really grafted against Lyon, and Lyon won like 12 straight in all comps. So, that was encouraging for Nantes. I think they're going to try and grind it here for stay in the game as long as they can. Even if they go 1 down, just stay in the game. So that's how I see it. Monaco and under 4 is reasonable. Real Brandon King for sure. IUD, good to see you. Brad Betts is going to be betting in the Bundesliga 2. Seems like there's quite a lot of goals around in that. John Tate says he could see both teams to score. Yes. Nantes picked up 9 of their 14 points on the road. And yeah, this is not the hardest place to come, the south coast of France. Never an intimidating crowd or anything here. So maybe they prefer being on the road. You can watch this game on the BetRivers app or betrivers.com. Loads of live sports. You can watch Pisa AC Milan, Elche Osasuna, the Eredivisie match in Holland between PSV Eindhoven and Volendam. And if you really want, you can watch Santa Clara against Benfica in Primera Liga, 2 Turkish Super League matches, 4 Irish Premier Division games. The Irish League got underway now. I think it's 2 or 3 rounds in. And, of course, you can watch the tennis, ATP tennis, Buenos Aires or Rotterdam. So lots of live action to see today. And further reminder, just a couple of days left for this now. The Betting Weekly February Fun Bets. Tennis, soccer, basketball, whatever sport you're following right now, bet on it with this February Fun Bet. Betting Weekly and BetRivers have teamed up to give you a $10 bonus bet at BetRivers when you enter the code BW201. That is BW201. The offer expires on the 15th of February. So if you've not used this already, then get it used in the next couple of days. Must be 21 and eligible players only. Good luck if you are playing the February Fun Bet. Let's get into the first part of your daily double today, Paul, which we're going to go to Italy Serie A here. This is Pisa against AC Milan. AC Milan had last weekend off due to the Winter Olympics, I do believe. They get a newly promoted side now away from home. Pisa, who are joint bottom of the table, 1 win all season. Still, I mean, that's shocking. It really is. They've drawn quite a lot of games. AC Milan minus 186. Pisa have had that knack of drawing some of these sort of fixtures, Paul. But I mean, AC Milan in the title race, surely they've got to win this game if they've got any title aspirations.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, Steve. When you like Pisa, this is. I was just looking strictly just opposing Pisa, and obviously AC Milan, probably one of the better teams you want to do it with because their away form's been really good this season as well. Like they've been better away from home than at home. But this Pisa team have also been better away from home. Do you know, Steve, they've scored 3 home goals all season. That is
it's shocking. I'm just looking now. It's that is shocking.
Like AC Milan lost in the first game of the season against Cremonese, and everyone's like, "Yeah, they're probably gonna be poor again." And then since then, they have an average of 2.3 points per game. Like they are doing really well, and they're definitely not out of the Scudetto at all. I think if they want to be winning it, they have to win this game, and this should be a relative tap into them. I think minus 186 pretty generous, in all honesty, and that just had to be my first leg. I think this is again 3 goals all season at home from Pisa. How bad is that? I think you have to take AC Milan here. As I said, it should literally be a tap in for them. If you're a fan of betting the shorties, I think minus 186. There's nothing wrong with that price either.
Yeah, I think the win to nil would be very likely here. Like Ginepi said, Pisa is under at home and over away. That's just the way it's been going for them. I think the last time they did us dirty by equalising late against Atalanta, I do believe it was. But they didn't really deserve anything. Yeah, AC Milan, it doesn't surprise me they're doing well this season. They're not in Europe. They've been able to focus pretty much on Serie A all the time. And if they do have any title aspirations, they need to win the game. So that's going to be the first part of your daily double here. Milan on the money line. Anything else for this game, Paul, in terms of a single?
No, I had a look at the props and stuff. I couldn't really land on anything. I'd like to. I was looking at Pulisic or something, but yeah, I couldn't really get the price I wanted.
Keep it simple. Sometimes that's the best way. 91% of the money's on AC Milan. 75% of the money is on the over for this game. What is the over underline? Because is it 2.5? Yeah, 2.5. Ooh. Plus money for over 2.5 goals. You don't get that too often in an AC Milan game, but this is.
It's basically just can AC Milan score 3 because again, Pisa don't often score much at all.
I tell you what, if you're a Pisa season ticket holder, you'd be feeling pretty shortchanged, wouldn't you? 3 home goals in 12 matches. I mean, you've had nothing to celebrate at all, have you? It's shocking, that is.
That is just
it really is terrible. Just looking through here, Dave Clark says, agree, Milan the money line is going to go into Izaka. They're going to be a really popular parlay piece today. It's going to be the first part of your daily double. Ginepi says he expects 0-1, 0-2. That's what I'm expecting as well. I actually think the 2-0 away win. I prefer it to the 1-0. I think Milan have got a bit of extra quality there. Villa fan says, on solid ground with Milan, unlike Pisa. I like that one, Villa fan. I do like that one. We're going to talk about Villa, Newcastle, of course, soon in the FA Cup the weekend. But that is the AC Milan match done. Now then, on to the second part of your daily double. Dave Clark says Stevie's scared of betting on Dortmund games. Second part of the daily double is Dortmund. How many times do they come on a Friday? Seriously. Like, honestly, I feel like one every 3 Fridays Dortmund are on. And I hate dealing with them, as you know. But anyway, minus 180 favourites, Borussia Dortmund, who, I mean, we had a question the other day. Who's more likely to win their league, Dortmund or Lens? I mean, Dortmund are 6 points behind Bayern Munich, which at this stage of the season, after the start Bayern had, that's not terrible, is it, for Dortmund? They're actually in a great run of form. Minus 180 to win. Mainz at plus 450 and the ties at plus 310. Mainz have been a lot improved under Urs Fischer. He's dragged them out of that relegation battle. They won 4 of their last 5 games. Do you think Mainz can cause them some problems here? I actually think they can. I am not going to be betting on Dortmund today at all. I don't like them too. I'm not saying I'm going to oppose them, but I'm not really into Dortmund at minus 180 here, which probably means they're going to rack up a big win. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, it should be arrested for betting Dortmund. Well, not betting Dortmund, but betting in a Dortmund game on Friday the 13th. So if anyone wants to avoid this leg in the daily double, I can completely understand. But as you said, yeah, mine's offline as well. Like they were woeful about 4 weeks ago, Steve. Like you were looking at this, like what's gone on with them? But then they've turned it around. They've had 4 wins in the last 5. They've scored like 2 or more goals in all of their wins as well. And there's only been one. They've only been 1 game that they didn't score 2 goals or more in the last 6. So they're in flying colours in goal scoring, and so are Dortmund. They scored 3 goals in the last 5 or 6 Bundesliga games, and the only game they didn't, they scored 2. So all the goals are going in for both sides, and it's quite simply where I'm going to go the second leg of the daily double, over 2.5 goals. I was looking at things with Dortmund, maybe Dortmund team total, but I think the over 2.5 comes to a generous price when you consider how good Mainz have been. Like it turned this around as well, and as Dortmund on the attacking front, especially at home and in the Bundesliga. Outside the Bundesliga and the Champions League, maybe not as much, but in the Bundesliga, they've been scoring goals for fun. And obviously the main man is Guirassy as well. I don't mind if you want to get on him to score. He's only minus 106 when I was looking before. I don't think that's bad at all. But yeah, I think over 2.5 goals, Dortmund can cover this by themselves if Mainz just don't show up. And Mainz, with the way they've been scoring, as I said, like they've scored 2 in 5 of the last 6. So they can very much chip in and help cover this too. I think it's a really strong bet for me for the second half of the daily double.
That is the official daily double today. Dortmund versus Mainz over 2.5 goals, and AC Milan on the money line to beat Pisa plus 143. And I mean, if you look at Dortmund, by the way, Slotterbeck is suspended for Dortmund. That's a big loss at the back. I think, I certainly think he's their best defender. But they conceded 2 goals at home to St. Pauli. They conceded 2 goals at home to Heidenheim. That is so sloppy. Like, really, really, really sloppy. And if they're doing that, then I am tempted here. Mainz to score over 1.5 goals is plus 210 for a little bit of pizza money. Mainz have been scoring goals of late, and they're probably going to need to score goals to keep up with them here. So that's going to be my small bet on the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Mainz actually got a result or at least kept within 1 goal of Dortmund. Like I said, that probably means Dortmund win big, knowing my prediction. I just looking back now, Dortmund have only lost 1 Bundesliga game.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. 1 game, and that was to Bayern, only 2-1. This is crazy. I feel like they're nowhere near played as well as those results.
Did they take the lead in that game as well? Or am I making that up? I don't know if that could be.
I think they went 2 down.
Oh, did they?
Off the top of my head. Yeah, they went 2-0 down. Kane and Elise, and Julian Brandt scored in the 84th minute, and the Asian handicap was probably about -2 on Bayern that day, -1.5 actually. So they covered the Asian line that day. I can't believe that from Dortmund. I don't feel like they've been anything that great this year, but their results, to be fair, get the job done, don't they? Along there now. So just looking through some of the comments today, Dan saying Dortmund -1. He's opposing me on Dortmund. Fine, do it. Dave Clark says, I swear every time Steve doesn't bet them, they win easily. Yeah, this will be tonight. You watch, they'll rack up a big win now because I don't fancy them. But yeah, they're a frustrating team. I know for some they are. For me, Giuseppe says I never bet on Dortmund because there's no value on them. Real Brandon King's taking Dortmund. A little prop from Jack Wright. Nadim Amiri over 0.5 shots on target plus 132. Very good creative player, and he's on free kicks. I think probably penalties as well, perhaps. Certainly free kicks. Very good.
I think Emre Can's on them, but.
So yeah, Dortmund to win an over 1.5 is safer, says King Devil 582. Nice angle there, welcoming King Devil. Dave's going 1 more. Dortmund and over 2.5 plus 135. Again, hard to argue with it. And Dave's going Dortmund and winning both teams to score. Yes, Dave is getting stuck into this game. I like it. A lot of people getting stuck into this one. And Amiri's actually scored in his last 5, says Jack Wright. Makes the price of the shot on target decent value there. He has been a big part. When Mainz are playing well, he's been really important to them. That actually went under my radar that he scored in his last 5, to be fair. Interesting one there. But yeah, the official daily double, like you say, it's on screen, plus 143. Dortmund Mainz over 2.5 goals. Milan money line. I think the general gist is we are liking goals in this game. Differences of, I think, a lot, obviously liking Dortmund as well. And, you know, with they're winning so many games, I mean, the -1 Asian handicap will be a tempter for a lot of people, that's for sure. Where's the money for this one? It's with Dortmund, as you might expect, Paul. 92% of the money, 92% of the tickets as well. 66% of the money's on the over for this fixtures. What about props? You've got some props for this game as well.
Yeah, Schlotterbeck's obviously a big miss, but I think Ryerson to get an assist plus 350. I don't know how I think he's the 5th price in the market. He's had 4 in his last 7, and a lot of Dortmund fans have been raging about how good he is at crossing the ball, and he's taken the majority of the corners now. I know the last season that it was Julian Brandt, and they weren't very happy about that. But no, I think he's a really good crosser of the ball. Obviously, Schlotterbeck not being there, he's a big aerial threat, but I think he can get down that way and get some balls in the box, and obviously on corners as well. So yeah, I think Ryerson, I don't think he should be the 5th outsider in the market. So plus 350, I wouldn't mind a nibble at that. And obviously Guirassy to score as well, -106 and plus 430 for 2 or more goals. I mean, he scored 3 in the last 2, and obviously he is their main man and is the catalyst why they're doing so well and have done over the last few seasons. So there'd be the 2 props I'd be looking at in this game as well.
He went cold, didn't he, Guirassy? But he's back hot again, and he's that sort of streaky striker. You know, -106, that's a very, very going to be a very popular bet. And, you know, nearly, over 4-1 for 2 or more. Ryerson, I really rate that player actually from all sorts of perspectives. I think he's underrated defensively. There was one game, I think 2 years ago, he completely had Mbappe in his pocket, genuinely. He shut him down. And, Byron says there he was a shot on target wagon last season. It looks like he's been released back into the offence lately. He can play right back, right wing back, right winger. He can play on the left. Very versatile player, both attack and defence as well. So, let's hope we can get some decent profit out of that Dortmund game. There is one other Euro fixtures day I'm going to talk about before we get stuck into FA Cup. This is La Liga, Elche against Osasuna. And I think it's a tough one, to be honest. It's near enough a pick-em for both teams. Osasuna have really found some form of late out of nowhere. Really had a poor away record until a few weeks ago. Beat Celta Vigo on the road last week, wasn't it? Elche have just started to drop off form a bit. If I was to have a bet on the game, it would be both teams score yes at -136. You want to cover that 1-1 draw here. But Osasuna, I've been really impressed with how well they've been coached lately. They are being set up perfectly to nullify the opposition's strengths. And they are a corner killer. I've mentioned Osasuna before. Do not get involved with corners with Osasuna. This is actually one of the very few games I would fancy under corners rather than over corners because of the way they shut down the wide areas. So, when Osasuna are involved, Paul, unless the goal line's low enough, I'm not that bothered about them. So for me, this
scores a big trend here, hasn't it, Steve? As you said. I think in the last 4 or 5, or maybe 5 or 6, actually, I think both teams are scoring all of the games in this head-to-head. So I was looking at it earlier as a possible way in. But Elche 7th in home form. How much does that mean, even though they haven't been out of form? 7th in the entire La Liga, that is, as well, in home form. So it's not terrible, as you're saying. I can't find an angle, but I do really like both teams to score if you want something in this game.
I think that you got to cover that 1-1 draw. And, there's quite a few leaning that way as well. Looking at I think over 2.5 goals wouldn't be a terrible bet. Osasuna matches lately they've not contained a lot of chances, but they've contained some big chances. I mentioned them last week. The way they defend and the way they attack, for some reason, they concede some big chances, but create big chances. Not a lot of them. It's a weird way that they're set up differently to a lot of teams. Elche play nice soccer, really do. Lovely to watch, but that nice way doesn't always get you results. So I'm a bit wary of them. And that relegation battle is hotting up in La Liga. Rayo are in the bottom 3 now, which is Valencia down there. They're always down there, aren't they? Elche now just 2 points above the drop zone. And, for a lot of the season, we were talking about their manager being perhaps the manager of the season, the revelation of the season. They're only 2 points above drop zone now. But Dan Roebuck's going to trust them. Elche draw no bet. Interesting one. I'm not sure about that, the way Osasuna are playing, Dan. But Elche have been good at home of late. Okay, we are going to get stuck into FA Cup weekend. 2 matches tonight to have a look at. And you've had a good deep look at both of these. 4th round, this is Hull against Chelsea, 2:45 p.m. Eastern time. Chelsea -455, Hull City plus 10.50. Hull are doing quite well in the Championship, although I know a lot of people are saying that they've been quite lucky this season, overachieving and all that sort of thing. Chelsea, with their mighty strength in depth, you would expect them to probably have too much here. The actual 11 might be very difficult to predict, though, if you're looking at player props. You have got a same-game parlay here that you like.
Have I?
Yeah.
No, maybe I wrote down wrong. I meant it as 2 separate things when we were discussing earlier.
Sorry, 2 separate things. Yeah, tell us.
Sorry, apologies. But it's the same thing, isn't it? Though, so basically, both teams are scoring overs, or the way I'd be going. So obviously, they're playing super similar, as we're saying, but the reason for the overs is obviously, I was speaking to Jack earlier about Hull. I sent him across. I was like, am I crazy for thinking this way? And he was like, no, not at all. And then he gave me a stat or 2 on Hull as well. And he's like, Hull are 2nd in XG against them in the Championship this season, which is pretty remarkable considering how well they're doing. And then Chelsea, obviously, their depth is they've got a long list of players that can play anyways, and they're all similar ability, which is kind of, how keeps them ticking along in competitions. But the reason I came with both teams to score as well as just the overs is because do you not think? Well, I know from what I've seen, anyways, this Liam Rosenior team, when they go up a few goals, because they're scoring so much, to be fair to them, which is no reason for overs. But I feel like they kind of switch off, Steve, when they go up a few. I mean, they were 3-0 up in the 88th minute against 10 men Crystal Palace and they concede. They were 3-0 up against Wolves and they conceded going straight out the second half. And then they were 2-0 up against your lads Leeds and then they dropped points in the end. I just do feel like they have tendencies and patches in games where they just completely switch off. As I'm saying, straight after the second half against Wolves, at the end of the game after the red card against Palace, Leeds scored 2 goals in about 5 minutes, and or West Ham scored 2 goals in about 10 minutes. I think there is patches of the game where they are just switching off, and I think when you get both teams to score around a pretty generous price and overs at a big price as well, I think Chelsea will score a few, but I also think there will be times in this game where they do switch off. And even if they don't, I think Hull obviously has the offline in the Championship. They do have enough quality to score against a rotated Chelsea back line anyways. So, yeah, both teams to score over goals. I like them both in this one.
Chelsea do switch off. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And the Leeds game, I have to say, it was one of the very few times that Leeds got some points we didn't deserve. It doesn't happen very often, Paul. But I had no idea how we got really anything out of that game. And it was because Chelsea did commit silly mental mistakes when they didn't need to do it. And that's what Liam Rosenior said after the game. They're not the finished article, are they? That's the thing with Chelsea. You always feel it's been like this for 2 or 3 years now, that they're a work in progress. Rosenior reckons that their ceiling is incredibly high. And I can actually believe that in time. But yeah, this sort of game here, I think they're going to have other things on their mind. So that over 2.5 goals and both teams to score would actually play at minus 109. Both teams to score itself, though, is minus 114.
Yeah,
so
just take that
you might as well just play that. You might as well take that. Over 3.5 goals is plus 107. You could get the 3.25 line at minus 117. Of course, it's just a one-leg match now. There's no replays in the FA Cup. It will go extra time penalties if it's a draw after 90 minutes. And I think that a lot of these FA Cup games are going over the goal line now because of that reason. I think there's more urgency. No one really wants to play extra time penalties. So there's much more, I think, frantic nature of stuff.
Especially not when you're in all the competitions as Chelsea, do you know what I mean? Like, they just played the EFL Cup semi-finals, Premier League, Champions League, and then this. So, yeah, they definitely don't want an extra 30 minutes of football.
So, in terms of the betting splits for the game, 97% of the money's on the over, 94% of the tickets are on the over, 98% of the money and 99% of the tickets are on Chelsea. 1% of the tickets are on Hull. If those 99% get done up, you can say that they got mauled by the Tigers. That's what you can say, Paul.
Yep.
But I'm not sure it will happen.
Tigers are coming out on Friday the 13th.
Chelsea should have enough. But there is another FA Cup game today, of course. Before that, actually, just have a look at some the bets in chat. King Devil says half with the most goals, second half, and both teams to score. Yes, I could see that. Hull over 1 goal for a bit of pizza money, says Humble Levadian. Chelsea's biggest problem is they have the players and system to attack and defend, not play possession, says Brad Betts Footy. That's interesting. Spurs had this problem with their wide players, that they inability to keep the ball. And it's an interesting point, whereas sort of the Man City systems over the years, they've always had players who can keep the ball. Brad says, when is Hansi Flick fired? Barcelona getting beat yesterday, big, of course. We've had enough managerial casualties this season.
Yeah.
Go down that route. Of course, we will actually have a little talk about the Spurs new appointment soon, but let's get cracked into this second FA Cup game today. Wrexham, of course, such a famous club these days, everywhere, worldwide, because of their connections and their owners. They are against Ipswich Town. It's an all-championship clash. Both teams currently in the playoff positions. I think maybe Wrexham just dropped out of it the other day. But plus 225 for them. Ipswich plus 120. The ties plus 225. I mean, both teams could be forgiven for having eyes on perhaps bigger matters in the league, especially perhaps Ipswich in that mould. I always feel with Wrexham, very similar to Birmingham, and we'll talk about soon. I just feel like they want to be in the limelight. They will want the shock here. They will want to stay in the FA Cup for as long as possible. It's great for their exposure. It's great for their business model. I'm a little bit surprised that they're the dog, Paul, but what do you think of this game?
I also was thinking it's a bit of a big price, Steve. I don't know if you can see the message there in the chat from Louis MIT or Louis Mitt. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but he's saying Ipswich fan here would be avoiding Ipswich like the plague tonight. McKenna went public this week saying that a cup run isn't viable alongside the promotion bid. 2 to 3 under 23s and other fringe players starts. I mean, if that's the case, how can you be so? How can people be bullish on Ipswich tonight, and how can the price be right? Do you know what I mean? If Wrexham come out here, I feel like they are the type of team would be like, yeah, cup run, like so like buzzing, positive, like the storyline, this, that, and the other. It's kind of how they've been made to what they are now. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out and like go a strong lineup here. But again, that's all speculation at the minute. But these two teams have been scoring goals for fun across the last few months. Again, Ipswich only failed to score one time in the last 16 matches since playing Wrexham in November. And that game, they should have scored over, I think it was over 2 goals according to the XG, which you touched on in the extra time show a little bit earlier. But Wrexham, very, very similar. Failed to score at the weekend, but before that, they were looking at 11 in a row scoring. So the Wrexham defense is a weakness for them, and but being a home big cup game, I think they can get past this Ipswich strongish defense because I feel like they've shown frailties as of late. So I think both teams have scores the angle I like, yeah. And again, if you were to push me a pick aside, I think Wrexham's probably the bet at current prices, definitely.
You can often get some really generous odds on both teams to score in championship matches or teams involving championship sides. -134 there. This is FA Cup. Probably both will have a go. I mean, I've got to say that's a great comment from Louis Mitt there on the Ipswich angle. If he's going public saying that he doesn't really want an FA Cup run, then Wrexham to qualify at +125 as Humble Levadian put, or +225 on the money line. I think we've got to tail that somewhere along the line here today and I think the match will mean more to Wrexham as well. Wrexham themselves. Definitely in terms of
he's just putting there the captain hasn't even Skipper O'Shea hasn't even travelled and Dan Neil starts and they play Wrexham again in the league next week, so yeah, that's a lot of complications for Ipswich going into this, huh?
John Tate says Liberato Cachace worth looking at for a shot, likely to get the nod for the start. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think there'll be quite a few goals in it. You like both teams to score, yes, they're -134. And the more I've seen from chat here, I think Wrexham would have to be the side, either saying the to go through market to qualify, or regular time +225 there. I'm amazed over 2.5 goals is nearly evens as well, actually, for this particular game. Let's have a look at the breakdown here of the money for the fixture. It's a close one, actually. We've got 61% of the tickets on Ipswich, but 69% of the money's on Wrexham. I love it when there's a split like that, Paul. So the money, if you're following the money, then Wrexham is the place to go. There's actually 58% of the money on the under for this game and 89% of the tickets on the over. So there's a split there as well. Let's see.
1-1 Wrexham on pens.
1-1 Wrexham on pens. Yeah. Maybe to qualify might be the better bet, especially as it's still plus money, +125. Someone's asked a question here. Grazza says, what is Igor Tudor like as a manager, Steve? Yeah, of course, the news came through today that Igor Tudor will be the new Tottenham Hotspur manager until the end of the season. Rumours after that saying Roberto De Zerbi, possibly Pochettino in the running for the long-term boss. Igor Tudor, I mean, he's not a bad manager. I've seen him, obviously, at Marseille. I've seen him at Juventus. He had a great run in Italy before Marseille. I think it was Verona. And he's the sort of manager, I said to someone today, he never tends to hang around long at a club anyway. So it's just as well he's interim. Whether or not he can, I don't think Tudor has ever properly, I think his best work has always been when he's come into a club in the summer, as most managers would, by the way. I'm not sure he can get an instant tune out of them. what I will say, someone actually messaged me today and said, can Igor Tudor keep Tottenham Hotspur from relegation? Well, the answer is anyone would keep Spurs from relegation as long as they get their players back fit. That's the way. This is the problem that he's got. He's got to wrap these guys in cotton wool. And unfortunately, there's several players who are ruled out until the end of the season. But Tudor, what is he like? He's a really good balance manager, actually, Grazia. He can defend if you need to defend. He can attack if they need to attack. So he is adaptable. And he's got enough tactical acumen about him to certainly keep them up. In terms of his man management skills, that's been questioned before. You know, he can rub some players up the wrong way. He can be a bit frosty. Maybe that's needed at Spurs. I think, honestly, there's a few egos there that need battening down. They should be all right, like John said. They really should be all right. But if these injuries keep piling up, Paul, I mean, I thought you guys, Newcastle, could have beaten 4 or 5 in midweek. Honestly, that was as good of Newcastle as I've seen, which is that's a positive for Newcastle. But in terms of Spurs, they look devoid of everything. Do you think Tottenham will get in relegation trouble or not? Just quick opinion.
No, I mean, obviously they are in some sort of scrap, like as they were last season. But again, once they get a handful of players back, I think Igor Tudor, when he comes in as well, his team's always thought strong, as he said. They only lost one of his first 11 games in charge at Juventus, and then the results started to deteriorate after, which is kind of ideal because there's not many games left. Well, not a crazy amount of games left of the season, and then they'll be replacing them with someone permanent. So, yeah, I think it's all right. The problem with me in that system, Steve, was when we were talking before about Tottenham and their wing backs keeping the ball. He played a lot with the Juventus fullbacks like Cambiasso and stuff, doing a lot, and he was very comfortable in doing a lot better than he is now. Cambiasso, especially under Tudor, and now it's like, is these wing backs, Jed Spence, Doggy, Porro, obviously some out, some in, are these going to be able to do the same and getting forward, getting back, keep crossing the ball? And obviously, I think if they can, obviously unleashing, like whipping the balls into Dominic Solanke's not a bad person in the middle, but I do think they are just a bit too strong, just all over. You know, again, a few injuries here and there. Obviously, the Romero red card doesn't help, but I think they do have enough quality. But the choice of Tudor, especially when you're talking about the wing backs and stuff, keeping the ball, that was a bit of an interest for me. Wonder if they can do it and if they will.
I think that they brought him in because they see him as an impact coach who can get results straight away. So let's see how it works out. I think I certainly don't think they'll go down unless the injury crisis gets worse or just you can't get players fit. Champions League, I don't see them going beyond the next round they're in, to be fair. I just don't see them being that. I know they've had good results in the Champions League, but they had a really, really soft schedule in that competition. FA Cup weekend is, we'll do that in a minute, but just for those who've come in now or watching on demand a bit later, do get involved with the February Fun Bet. This will be the final reminder we're going to give you on Betting Weekly Live, actually. Tennis, soccer, basketball, whatever sport you're following right now, bet on it with a February free fun bet. February Fun Bet, Betting Weekly and Bet Rivers have teamed up to give you a $10 bonus bet at Bet Rivers when you enter the bonus code BW201. That is BW201. Do get involved. Offer expires on February the 15th. Must be 21 and eligible players only. Last call for the February Fun Bet, $10 bonus bet there. FA Cup weekend then. I did ask you to let us know what your best bets over the weekend are on the FA Cup. I've got a couple to add as well. There's 4 matches on the sheet there. But before that, I want to talk to you about Manchester City against Salford, Paul.
Yes.
This is, Man City Salford, a big mismatch here, but quite a sort of a local rivalry as such, certainly geographically, between the two sides. Salford are a League One team, and they didn't City play them in the FA Cup last year?
Yeah, they beat them 8-0 last year.
Yeah, they did. Now, that's why the handicap here, and Manchester City played very well against Fulham, by the way. I was so impressed by them. Manchester City handicap is minus 3.75. Are they going to cover that one, Paul?
Yeah, I think they will. I think that's really generous. Like -3.5 is -130. I'm like, that can't. How is that right? Like
You really like this, don't you?
this is one of my stronger bets. Is like of the show, as I said, when you see something and just sticks out. Like I thought it was going to be -4.5. Like like around like that, but their attacking depth is absurd. Like how good their attacking. They drop Haaland. Who they're going to bring in? Omar Marmoush was top scorer of Bundesliga for a game, and he's been killing it in the Premier League. Or they're dropping Semenyo. You can only play Doku now. Foden will probably start. You know what I mean? Like against this quality of team, obviously they beat them 8-0 only a year ago. And we saw them beat X at 10-1 a few weeks ago because their depth is too good and they don't take the finger off the trigger when they've got these teams down and out. So I've took the -3.5. I expect them to obviously, again, no matter who they line up with, it's going to be a strong team for City. And I think they'll blow them out the water once again, as they did last season. I've took City over 2.5 first goals at +200, -4.5 +160, -5.5 +350. I know -3.5, -130. I've laddered that up, Stephen. I really think they just come out here and do what they do against these smaller clubs and just blow them out of the water.
I don't think I've seen you this excited on a bet for quite some time, Paul. The ladder is well and truly extended here.
Oh, yeah.
Bet Rivers are offering up to -6.5 on the Asian handicap for those who are interested. That's at +650. Possibly on the three-way spread. I mean, they go on the three-way spread as far as -7.5. That's at 11-1. I mean, the thing is, Manchester City do have a knack of racking up the score against these lower teams. I don't know why they do it. I mean, Pep Guardiola often calls it a respect thing, doesn't he? Where he's like, they would almost want them to be, to keep their foot on the gas.
Yeah.
There's also the Salford City angle. Let's not forget this. Salford City are owned by the class of 92. Is it 92? The Man United former players like Gary Neville
and that, yeah.
Paul Scholes, them sort of people. So, Manchester City, it's almost like getting one over Man United to a degree. So I don't think they'll just call off the dogs here either.
I think it's because how ridiculous can you go on a goal line? You know what I mean? Like, Bet Rivers can't just offer just come out and just go, it's -5.5. Like it is ridiculous, but like -3.5. So yeah, I think it's a great bet.
There's some other matches on the FA Cup card. Southampton, Leicester City. This is two bets I really like in this one. Over 2.5 goals and Southampton money line. Last week, of course, they met. Leicester were 3-0 up. Southampton won 4-3. Leicester City, there were reports. Yeah, it was crazy. There was reports coming out yesterday about Leicester City, if they get relegated from the Championship, could be on the verge of bankruptcy. I mean, they were winning the Premier League title 10 years ago. From there to bankruptcy would be ridiculous. I think they need to get themselves out of this FA Cup, focus on that relegation fight, and Southampton could cover that goal line all by themselves. So I really like Southampton money line and Leicester against Leicester and over 2.5 goals. Let's talk about Aston Villa Newcastle, Paul. Your own team in action. Of course, you ended your 70-year wait for a domestic major trophy last year. But how do you see this one going? Are Newcastle going to be... I actually like Newcastle here as a dog. I like Newcastle to qualify in this game. I do. I think you're going to take this match really, really seriously and want to stay in that FA Cup. How do you see it going?
Yeah, my thing is as well, though, Villa will as well. Like, their lineup against Tottenham was like near full strength is 2 in the last round. But Steve, like, our away form was just so bad. Obviously, we beat Spurs, but you know what I mean? At this point, who doesn't beat Spurs? You know what I mean? When you're looking through it, the teams we've beat away in England this season was Spurs, who are 16th in the table and 18th in the home form. Everton 8th in the league, but they're 14th in home form. Going to this new stadium, they're not the home team they once were with the crowd buzzing. There's a bit of complaints about the new stadium. The winless in the last 6 at home, Everton, and the other team is Burnley, who are 19th in the table and 19th in home form. Whenever we go to a strong stadium, it's like we just forget how to play. Like it's really bad. And Villa have been a big bogey team for us away. And I think before the last game, I think even like Villa fan would have said they don't like the idea of coming to St James's Park. It's kind of like a mutual thing. So yeah, Steve, I'm not confident at all in us, and I'm glad you are, because it makes one of us at least. But yeah, we have 1 win in the last 10 at Villa Park. So yeah, I'm not.
But it's
I'm not
the
full of
cup,
optimism.
the magic of the cup. Anything
The magic
can
of the
happen in
cup.
the cup.
Yeah.
You're not going to oppose
Anyhow,
your
in the
side though,
cup,
here, are
it's
you?
a mythical
You're going
character.
in goal markets and props for this game, Paul.
Yeah, under 3 is just a lean. I think it'll be I think both teams will be rather strong and a bit of a cagey affair, because our strikers can't score at the minute at all, which is fun. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty cagey. Villa have not been great going forward either, though. Villa haven't been great lately either, Steve. So maybe that's something we can go into, bigging ourselves up about. But yeah, I think the under is probably the way I'd go. But the prop for me, Steve, Jacob Ramsey was at Villa, and he's playing really well the last few games for us, and he's hard to drop him. And if he starts again here, it's kind of a theory that Lewis Jones touched on a few weeks ago. Do you remember when he was? I'm not sure if you were on or it was Dan, but he was talking about it was actually Simon. I remember it now. He was talking about how when Grealish played like his old club, and like he's just shooting at will when he gets a good chance, and then Madueke was an angle he took because he was playing Chelsea and stuff in the EFL Cup. I think Ramsey here, he's coming off a goal in just 5 shots against Spurs last week, and now over 1.5 shots, Steve, it's plus 250. A shot on goal plus 220. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think these players, against your old club, I think that gives it a bit more. You're going to be more motivated than ever against your old club. Scored last week, 5 shots last week. It's like, if there's ever going to be a time to get with a player, I think it's now. It's like in this game with Ramsey. So over 1.5 shots plus 250, a shot on target plus 220. If he starts, I expect that to look pretty good price in the end. So yeah, I'd be looking at taking that if he starts.
Villa fan says Villa can't rotate their midfield. We haven't got the players to do so. I'm a bit anti-Villa in this FA Cup. I'm not sure they're going to be taking this one as seriously. I think Villa can win Europa League. I think that's where their eggs are going to end up, as long as they get in the top 5 as well. So yeah, I like Newcastle to qualify at plus money, personally. Newcastle corners, of course. Prodby Curse there mentions that they are Newcastle and corners just go hand in hand. So they're always worth a look in that market. Grant says, what about the Rhinos getting 6.5 against Lee tonight? This is rugby league. Leeds Rhinos against Lee Leopards. I don't really follow rugby league anymore. You can bet on it with Bet Rivers though, if you're interested in rugby league. The answer is, Gratz, I just don't know enough about them. FA Cup, more matches at the weekend. We've got to talk about this big game before we finish. Liverpool Brighton. Liverpool minus 195. Brighton plus 425. Tie plus 350. I think both teams have got to take the FA Cup seriously. Liverpool for obvious reasons. Brighton, Fabian Hürzeler, I do believe, is the favourite in the next manager to be removed market. Pressure's on him. I like the idea of goals in this game. I'm going to back over 3.5 goals, Paul. And your bets for it are half-time, full-time market. Yeah,
Brighton are really bad, Steve. I think they could get in a relegation scrap more than the price suggests at the minute. They are very poor. I don't know. When I'm watching them, it's like they're just on a really steady decline. I think they are ready to let Hürzeler go. And I think it is just going to be this could be a game that's a nail in the coffin. You can see Liverpool like racking up the score here if all things are flowing with all the players they've got. But the Liverpool angle here at home, they played them earlier at home this season. I think they won 2-0 then as well. Was it 2-0? And another way I'll get with the prop was Ekitike. He scored 2 against them in the cup. He scored them 2 goals against them in their first meeting, and he scored 2 goals last week against an unknown team from the northeast playing in black and white who tried to sign him. So, he scored 2 against Brighton before, 2 last week. He's the man in form. If he starts, I expect him to get on the score sheet if Liverpool are to score. So, yeah, Ekitike to score, Liverpool half-time, full-time. I'm very bullish Liverpool in this match, mainly because I think Brighton are just very, very poor.
I mean, Brighton themselves might have to mail in the FA Cup. I'm not sure. But I at the same time, we know Tony Bloom would love the idea of having a good cup run, and it's probably their only way to qualify for Europe now. But it is, isn't it? Not going to be involved in that race. So, Slim 888, who is a big Brighton fan, says, "Calm down, Hitman. We haven't been that bad. Villa were lucky on Wednesday. I mean, Brighton did play better on Wednesday, that's for sure. I think Brighton come out swinging here, and I know they haven't scored many goals of late, but I think they can at least create chances. Whether they convert them, I don't know. But I like over 3.5 goals in this game. You like the Liverpool half-time, full-time. Ekitike is always worth a go. Just before we finish, I've got to talk about Leeds United, Birmingham City away. This is the early kickoff on Sunday, and I'm going to oppose my own team here. Birmingham to qualify for me, plus 145. I think it's a massive price. Leeds have only been beyond the fourth round of the FA Cup 2 times in the last 10 years. One of those was last season, I do believe. But Leeds have no interest in the FA Cup. We have one objective, and one objective only this season: survive from the Premier League, avoid relegation, and I expect as much rotation as is possible from Daniel Farke in this game.
Hopefully.
Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad performance, but Birmingham doing well in the Championship. We know, a bit like Wrexham, they love taking scalps now, getting a high-profile win, getting in the news, that sort of thing. You know, we know Tom Brady owns 4% of them. The Knight Capital Group, they're a big story. And I think they're a big prize here to go through. Plus 145 to qualify. I'm amazed that Leeds are nearly, I mean, they're plus 110 on the money line in 90 minutes, Leeds United. Even if I knew we were going to be full strength, I'm not sure we'd be betting on that. I mean, we've lost. We have a bad record at St Andrews as well. We've actually lost 3 of our last 4 visits there, 1-0. And the other match we won 5-4 ridiculously. So yeah, I think Leeds are a good team to oppose this weekend, unless Birmingham have suddenly got their sights set on, Championship playoffs and stuff like that, and they've got their eye off the ball. But I don't see that happening personally.
Do you think you stay up, Steve?
Do you know what? After Cole Palmer's miss on Tuesday, do you see that 0.91?
Yeah.
I'm for the first time I was thinking, maybe Lady Luck's on our side. It's going to be tough because I think you might need 41, 42 points to survive this season. It's going to be an unusual year. We just need one other team to have a really bad run. You'd say it's most likely to be Forest or West Ham. I said yesterday, after the Sean Dyche going, I'm not sure about Forest suddenly. I'm not sure whether the players' heads just might be scrambled a bit. So I am a bit more confident about Leeds. But, the problem at Leeds, if it does get really close, tetchy and nervous, then we're almost our own worst enemy to a degree. So we need to stay sort of constantly with a bit of a gap, if you know what I mean. Because if it gets close, the fans will just go in panic mode. That's what we do in Yorkshire. We panic very, very quickly. Very, very early.
You still got to play West Ham, Burnley, Sunderland, Palace, Wolves, all those teams in the similar range. I think you'll be fine.
I think we'll be all right as well. Anyway, we're out of time. I've overrun today. We're over an hour, but it was great fun. It's great fun. Let's remind everyone of the daily double. Today it is Dortmund Mainz over 2.5 goals and AC Milan on the money line against Pisa. Plus 143 daily double. Best of luck with that one, Hitman. And so many bets across the show. If you had to have one bet today, though, what would it be? What's your best bet on Friday?
On Friday, maybe just overs in the Dortmund game. Or Monaco, overs. Actually. Monaco minus 1-2. 1.25.
Monaco minus
the daily double's just as good if you want to double.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Thank you, everyone who joined live or on demand, not just today, but across the whole week. John Tate, just quickly before I go, Forest are most likely now, he thinks, that madman in charge is going to be their downfall. 4 managers in the same season. Should be auto relegation. I'm a bit more worried about them. Absolutely. Let's hope we cash it. As I say, thanks everyone who joined live or on demand. Please do hit that like button. Want to get as many likes as we can. Hit the subscribe button as well. Extra Time show has been released. Me, James, and Dan. It was a great show this week. Loads of picks on there as well. Do give that a watch. Have a great weekend. Gamble responsibly. I'll see you on Tuesday next week. I think Dan's on Monday. Massive week ahead coming up. Champions League, Europa League. Looking forward to it, Paul. Have a great weekend, Hitman, yeah? Take care.
You too. Good night. Good evening, everyone.
See you around, everyone. And best of luck again. Goodbye.